question and answer format is going to be a little bit different at this point. We're going to ask fewer questions, and they also will have just a little less time to answer, but you will have 2 minutes at the tail end to kind of give some closing remarks as well. So thank you. Would you help me welcome him to the stage? Thank you. Would you please, pardon me for just a moment, very good. Would you please just test your microphone for me, and so we can make sure that we are being recorded?
Sure, thanks. Thanks for inviting me here, Nathan.
Yes, sir. Very good, I appreciate that very much. Now the questions we are going to ask are condensed, but we're going to start with a life question, and we'll start with you as well, and then go to our U.S. representative next. So the first one, of course, is, you may have heard it already in the previous round, it's this. Abortion, forgive me, we're going to start with that one that kind of gets to the heart of how you think. And so it's this. The phrase separation of church and state is frequently invoked in debates surrounding public policy. Some choose to ignore the original meaning of the phrase, which was to ensure that there was no established Church of America, and instead imply that people of faith should set aside their moral convictions when governing, even though all laws reflect moral belief. If elected, would you govern according to moral convictions informed by faith, or should those convictions be set aside in public office? And do you believe elected officials bear moral responsibility for the laws they advance, oppose, or permit? And would you please explain? Thank you.
Sure. Thanks again, Nathan. I'm Jimmy Skogard. I grew up in Grable and went to Basin High School there. In Grable, my father took me to the Grace Baptist Church as a child in the 1970s. It was a new church, and he brought me there, and during the sermon times, us youngsters would go downstairs in the basement, and I like to call them the church moms, would teach us the parables of the Bible and the story of the Good Samaritan. And I took those things to be, and later in life discovered that those were my foundations. Those were the foundations that defined Jimmy Skogard. The Good Samaritan, and how that ties into the parable of the or not the parable, but the do unto others as you'd have done unto you. That speaks to me. And when I see the division within our nation, I see something that disturbs me. I know that we are greater when we stand together, when we work together. And that has become important to me. I saw a division within my family over this last election cycle. I've seen division within the state of Wyoming. I've seen division within the country, and I've seen division within the Republican Party. I've been a Republican for 40 years. And up to this campaign, I started in April of 2025, and I've collected every single label from my fellow Republicans. From labels from Rhino to TDS to the labels of some that I'd never heard before. Liz Cheney, Republican. I was like, Liz Cheney, Republican, that's a good one. And I own them all, folks. I own them all because the minute I own those labels, they lose their power. They become basically meaningless. And it's an interesting concept, but try it out sometime. That if somebody admits that, hey.
Thank you so much.
Sorry.
Oh, by the way, I just wanted to mention.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes. I was chatting.
Very good, thank you.
Keep me on track. Thanks, Nathan.
Next, we'll hear from our Congressman.
Question number 1. Christian values have been America's moral North Star since the miracle of our founding. Our forefathers delivered one nation, under God, to preserve liberty and justice for all, under a framework guarded by the Christian framework that our rights are inalienable. America's 250th anniversary is a testament to the success of that great legacy. Our Constitution was ratified with Americans' God-given rights as our foundation. The Bill of Rights explicitly guarantees the freedom of religion, not freedom from it. Our ancestors created a republic after generations of religious persecution catalyzed the settlement of the New World. They embrace the Christian values that define Western civilization, where justice, dignity, and individual responsibility prevail. This democratic framework has been fundamental to our success, and its survival is sacred to our future.
Thank you. The second question is a life question, and it's this. Abortion is the intentional act of ending the life of another human being while in the womb. Do you agree with that statement? And if so, do you support any exceptions to legal protection for unborn children? And would you please explain?
This is a question that struck me right off the bat. I stood up in Central Wyoming Fair and Rodeo last year, and I was saying, hey, I'm going to run for Senate, reaching out with my cards, and a gentleman walks up to me and he says, I just have one question for you. He says, when does life begin? And I hesitated. He said, that's all I need to know, and he walked off. And I thought, oh, I'm going to have to form an opinion on this, and so I thought about it, and it became more and more apparent that it was something that I needed to understand. And so I started talking to folks at the fair in Casper, person after person. And I got different opinions, and finally somebody walked up to me and said, you know, have you read the the Constitution of the state of Wyoming? And I'm like, well, oh, you got me there. Haven't read that one, and here I am running for Senate. And I said, well, I'll go home and read that, and we'll talk tomorrow. And so I did. Went home and read that, and ran across Article 1, Section 38, and of course everybody knows what that is. And yes, we know about Section C and Section B and Section A. The idea of me, a sworn soldier, I served in the Army National Guard, and had to swear that oath to support and defend the Constitution, and to defend the Constitution of the United States. I swore that oath to support and defend the Constitution. And if we're going to change, we need to form an amendment to the Constitution. Otherwise, we put our representatives in an untenable position to swear to support and defend something, and then turn around and say that enact legislation that is contrary to their oaths. I say, let's start at the beginning, folks. Let's find the start.
Thank you. Ms. Hagan.
Question number 2. The practice of abortion remains a stain on our national character. The barbaric termination of life's miracles has no place to become normalized in a just and moral society. I agree that abortion is the intentional act of ending the life of another human being while in the womb. I do not believe abortion should continue in a nation with a premium value on life. These are complicated issues, but life is life, and we must always protect the most vulnerable. I have been a proud champion for the pro-life movement throughout my tenure in Congress, legislating with an A+ rating from the Susan B. Anthony Group in both terms. I have fought the demonic practice of mail-order abortion circumventing state laws, and I will continue championing life in the United States Senate.
Thank you very much. Question number 3, Mr. Skogard. Would you forgive me? Is it Skov or Skov?
Skogard, the B is silent. It's good Danish or old Danish. I'm not, I believe old, yeah. We used to have 2 A's in the name. And
okay.
My
thank you so much.
Great-great-grandfather brought that.
Very good. Here's the next question for you. Many Americans are concerned that religious freedom is increasingly being treated as merely freedom of worship, rather than the free exercise of faith in daily life. For example, the previous federal administration, we saw federal policies increasingly affect the religious freedom of healthcare professionals, faith-based ministries, adoption agencies, educators, and small business owners. In the U.S. Senate, how would you ensure that Americans are free to live and work according to their faith without fear of government coercion or retaliation?
Oh, that's a good question, Nathan. And I just visited with a young man in Teton County that experienced a little retribution through the Doge deal here in Wyoming. It's these ideas that we can just take a chainsaw to people's lives and do whatever we wish with them. I think we can do this through with a little bit more compassion, can't we? Religious freedoms, yes, we need to protect those, but we also need to protect one another. We need to stand up for one another. And to do that, we need to act together. I appreciate the opportunity to speak here tonight and share that. Because, when we look at the consequences of not working together, not respecting each other's rights to worship as we please, not respecting the rights of people to be treated as equals and have their say and be able to speak freely in our society, we sacrifice something. It's not just about they and them, it's about us. And when we work together, when we look at each other, and we look each other in the eye and we have those conversations, that's when we're at our most human. Because we can read each other. We can read, that's part of our humanity. When we get behind a screen, we kind of lose that ability sometimes. And we listen to the rhetoric and the nonsense, I call it. The nonsense that somehow some amongst us are greater than others. We're not. We're all the same in the eyes of Christ. We've always been that way. For us to reject that, I think is a mistake. I was taught as a child that, love your neighbor. That's something that's important to me.
Very good. Thank you. Ms. Sagan.
Question number 3. America's founding generation were the descendants of those who escaped religious persecution in medieval Europe. Religious liberty became one of America's first rights protected in our Constitution. In other words, religious liberty is in our American DNA, and this freedom goes both ways. We cannot pretend that religious liberty is guaranteed by merely allowing our neighbors to worship who they please. We must safeguard the religious freedom of all people by restraining the government from compromising that freedom with deliberate coercion. No Christian medical provider should be forced to commit an abortion or dispense abortion pills, and no Christian educator should be forced to use fabricated pronouns. And no faith-based ministry should be the subject of undue government surveillance solely because of their religion, as happened time and time again under the Biden regime. I have always fought against the encroachment of the administrative state on America's sacred religious liberties, and I will continue to do so if I earn your vote to be Wyoming's next United States Senator.
Thank you very much. The next question is this. It's on family values. Families are the most basic building block of society, and government can either support or hinder families' rights to make the best decisions about their children's education, about the role in public spaces, and in child rearing. Here's the question. What do you think the role of government should be in supporting the family to make independent decisions regarding their children's education, public spaces, and child rearing?
The government has got its place in our lives. Granted, we have asked, especially the federal government, to provide for the common defense. And I believe that the government at the federal level is reaching into state business a little bit too much, and I'd like to see that backed off. Those powers not delegated to the federal government remain with the state and with the people thereof. I believe that's the 10th Amendment. Let's try to work with that one, and let's scrutinize anything that tries to even touch the rights of us as individuals and as members of this great state. We can take care of our own, and you know what? Just leave us alone. I've heard that on the campaign trail. Why can't they, the government, just leave us alone? I'm like, what in Wyoming Senate? Just leave us alone. And so, after you guys elect me as your next senator, that's going to be one of my themes. Just leave Wyoming alone. Wyoming can deal with Wyoming. You guys, I don't know. I'm not so sure. But we're going to face some battles, and we're going to have to reach across that aisle. We're going to have to deal with the Democrats. Yeah, we're going to have to deal with them. And what are we going to do with them? Well, we're going to have to talk to them. We're going to have to reach out. We're going to have to say, let's sit down, have a beer, whatever we got to do, and work out these issues. And I'm going to involve you guys in those decisions too. I've got a technology base, and if there's a question about family, of course family is going to come first. Family always comes first. And I've even got a story about that one, but I'm running out of time here, so I'll share that one maybe later.
Thank you. Very good. Ms. Sagan.
Question number 4. The success of a nation hinges on the health of the family unit to carry our dreams into the future. Government can and should embrace the family as the bedrock of society, which is why I again proudly co-sponsored this year's resolution to dedicate June as Family Month. I am also pleased to share the practical progress House Republicans made to support the family in the One Big Beautiful Bill. More than 6 million children already have Trump accounts open in their name, affording the next generation to make investments, to purchase homes, open businesses, or pursue higher education. Working families will also benefit from the permanent expansion of the child tax credit to $2,200 indexed for inflation, and Americans are no longer compelled to pay federal taxes on tips and overtime, allowing our neighbors to keep more of their hard-earned money to pay their expenses. New parents will also enjoy more time at home with newborns thanks to the One Big Beautiful Bill, making the employer-provider paid family and medical leave permanent. Government should never lose focus on the family at the center of decision-making. I will always think of families first as I serve you.
Thank you very much. Last question. It is this. It's on education freedom. And of course, I'm so thankful for this race just to ensure equality between the two. We did give you guys these questions ahead of time so you could look them over. So here's the last one. Closely related to parental rights and family values is the question of who's responsible for educating the next generation. Some believe the government should direct and control education, while others believe parents are best positioned to determine the educational needs of their children and should have access to a variety of educational options. Here's the question. What do you believe is the proper role of parents in their children's education, and what public policies do you support that advance educational freedom and parental choice?
I visited with a young lady in Casper about homeschooling, and she was an educator, and she chose to homeschool her children. I just kind of thought, when I was a kid, that wasn't really an option. We went to school, and if we messed up, and my dad found out about it, well, that was probably the last time we messed up, because we got the education at the end of the stick. And that doesn't happen anymore. So we've got to come up with some new methods, and the methods that we've chosen are homeschooling, and we take more interest in our children, but it's become difficult. It's become difficult because of the expense, the expense that we face. I talked to a lady who said, well, I tried substitute teaching, but after paying for childcare, I had nothing left at the end of the day after I got my check for my substitute teaching. I thought, well, that's wrong. But that's a state issue, not really a federal one. I promised to share a story about something earlier, but it's kind of escaped my mind. I apologize. Back to the question at hand. That's good, Nate.
Very good. Thank you very much. All right, Ms. Zagerman.
Question number 5. Parents are the ultimate decision makers for their own children, period. Parental rights do not end at the schoolhouse door. They never have, and they never should. As chair of the Anti-Woke Caucus, I have been proud to stand with parents in an era when arrogant government officials have sought to replace parental wishes in order to indoctrinate children with their own secular worldviews. Poured-in libraries and hidden pronoun pins concealed from parents have no place in taxpayer-funded institutions. Parents must have veto power over radical agendas designed to brainwash our children. I have introduced multiple bills to safeguard the rights of parents, including the Parental Oversight and Educational Transparency Act and the Parental Rights Relief Act. These bills protect parents' roles as the arbiters in their kids' education, removing any ambiguity about who is in charge of their children. Children are the future, and I will always stand with parents to protect them.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Last, what we'll give you the opportunity to do is just spend 2 minutes just with some closing remarks. And so let's turn that to you.
All right, thank you. I'd like to close with a thank you to Nathan and a thank you to the Family Conservative Candidate Forum, I guess. This is an important event in a lot of the opportunities. I can't believe my counterparts didn't make it, but anyway, the bottom line for me is division, folks. When we get divided one against another, we don't get things done. This country was made great by the greatest generation after World War II. That's when we rose to prominence, and it was because we worked together. Not because we fought with one another, not because we accused one group or another group of doing something. We worked together. We worked to find ways to work together, and that's a message that I'm walking through the state and sharing. I honestly believe that. My background is in history, and I look into history, and this is what I see. When I see the Chinese in the early 1800s being persecuted for being immigrants, when I see the Irish being persecuted for coming here during the potato famine, when I see the Italians being persecuted for being here for whatever reason they came, I'm surprised, that we continue to do so. We continue to make the mistakes of the past, and we allow those folks divide us. And when I say those folks that are sitting at that small group, what I call the ultra wealthy people that sit at the top of the government, and I have to ask them why. Why the division? The division is for control. And so I come to you as a true son of Wyoming, all the way through. I got my education in Grable Basin, Laramie, worked in Casper, and I'm just here in Wyoming, and this is what I see. And so I've decided this is my platform to find out how Wyoming thinks, and I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Would you please give these a hand and thank them for coming tonight? Thank you so much. I'm going to take about 3 minutes here to allow